Okay, we've got excellent connection. I think we're live. So another episode of Gamers Initiative Podcast, episode 29. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us or watching. It's quite early in the morning actually. It's about 9 in the morning for me in the UK. So I'd imagine it's around middle of the morning. So at 4 in the morning for the Americans. Red Dead Panda, welcome. What time is it where you are in New Zealand?
Oh, 12 hours difference, 9:30 at night.
Yeah.
Yes, it's prime gaming time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a bit different from our usual gaming, usual podcast time, isn't it? Because you was drunk and I was getting ready to get drunk. So
Don't blame this on me. This is on you. You couldn't do yesterday, so don't blame this on me.
So how you been? What have you been up to? What have you been playing?
I'm really, really good. I finished. What have I finished? I finished playing the Halo 2 campaign. I've still got to play co-op with my sister, but starting Halo 3 next. But I have been just smashing Back 4 Blood. Obviously, I've just been playing with randoms and when my friends are on. But I'm running through the main campaign on Recruit at the moment to kind of get used to it, because it's my first time. I've never played the Left 4 Dead, and Elite was definitely... You were 100% correct in saying that I'd really enjoy Left 4 Dead, and I'm so sad I never played those games before. But loving Back 4 Blood, and also absolutely enjoying the card mechanics with it. So I'm just trying to kind of build up my deck and get some good cards before I kind of tackle Veteran at this point. But I think you and I are going to try and play this afterwards, right?
Yes.
Gonna try.
Yeah, we're gonna try. I've run around it on my own. I played all Left 4 Deads massively. I think I 100%ed both games, Left 4 Dead 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I've not played much this yet. I'm not going into it. So I've been playing other games. Been playing my Conan. Been getting into Conan again. So doing that. I spent yesterday climbing a volcano mountain. It was really high and really tough to do in the game. Because actually, what's weird is that you can climb things in the game, and it's almost like climbing mountains in real life, and it's really tricky in that. And sometimes I like playing the game just like climbing unclimbable mountains and things, just doing that. So
probably like Breath of the Wild with the climbing mechanics in that.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Never played that, but yeah, possibly. Yeah. But it's really good, the climbing mechanics in this. But yes, so we'll jump into it, because I played those games.
I mean, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me here on YouTube, and I think we've got our Twitter handles and stuff in the comments, I believe, and I've got the topics for today's show in there as well. Every week we'll put the topics in there, and our links to our YouTubes and our Twitter. I don't know what my Twitter handle is off by heart, because it's stupid.
It's on there, so you're all good. Good Box, hello, thank you for joining us. Don't know what time zone you're in, but I'm sorry if it's a weird, awkward time zone for you.
We'll be back to Friday.
Yeah, well, this is going to be an interesting podcast. I've been drinking wine, so I might be a bit loose.
And
Elite, have you been a bit loose?
I don't know what that means in New Zealand.
Just let me loose on the podcast there, Elite.
We've got Unlimited Production as well. Hello, Unlimited. But let me just give a shout out to our patrons. Okay, that's that done. Let's move on.
Awkward. Okay.
Right, so should we get in our topics? We've got several topics. Let me read through the topics quickly. So these are topics we're going to go through today. Hopefully you're interested and you stay for them all. We've got next Gen Cyberpunk updates delayed until 2022. We've got Xbox new storage expansion cards. We're going to cover the new Dbrand black panel for the PS5. The Xbox mini fridge and God of War coming to PC. So there's our topics, our 5 topics, and our first topic to get the ball rolling. Red Pad, you want to lead with this?
Yeah. So recently they announced that we would be waiting till next year to get the release for next gen PS5, Series S, Series X patches for the Cyberpunk 2077 game. So we're looking at next, 2022. I'm kind of sad, but I think it's really. I would rather that this gets delayed and we get the actual experience that they told us when this game initially launched. Oh my god, when did it launch? Was it 2020?
Yeah,
Did this launch last year? This
in
year? I can't
2020.
even
Yeah,
remember.
I think 2020.
This is how long this
Yeah,
is how long the pandemic has been. That every year, like 2020 and 2021, has kind of merged into each other. Um, but yeah, I'm. I mean, they also announced that the Witcher 3 next gen patches have also been delayed to 2022. I fingers crossed that The Witcher comes out before Cyberpunk because I really want Cyberpunk to bake as long as it possibly can because what they sold us on Cyberpunk is not what they delivered when the game first launched. Like I haven't finished the game of Cyberpunk 2077. I've enjoyed the hell out of it, but there are sections of it which are just unplayable. I mean, I haven't gone back to it since they've been patching it, but again, if you're running a next gen system, you're not getting the full advantage of the next gen system other than frame rate. You're still running into all the same problems as that last gen has because they haven't fully optimized and utilized for the next gen consoles, whether that you're playing on the PlayStation, whether you're playing on Xbox. And I think even PC would benefit from the next gen optimizations because there are some time, as we've seen in the past with different developers, next gen optimizations have actually made more optimizations available for PC that weren't there previously. So, what are your thoughts? Are you gonna? Did you
well,
ever pick up Cyberpunk back then?
my daughter bought it for me for Christmas. So before we go into it, so when did it release? I don't think it was. Would it be up for,
Google this.
or if it was decent, would it be up for this year's Game of the Year awards? So I think it released after the Game of the Year awards, so it wasn't included in last
So,
year's with it. So it might be.
10th of December 2020.
Yeah.
So it released in the last
So so it possibly
It
could
hasn't
be
even
in
been out
this
a year.
year's. So it could be an option in this year's Game of the Year awards if it was good. If it didn't get
No,
so
it's
much.
not going to be an
Nah,
option.
it probably won't be.
It's not even a talking point. People are acting like Cyberpunk is this small, horrible child that you put in the corner of the room and pretend it doesn't exist until it starts to behave itself. That's exactly what Cyberpunk is like. That is the put that game in the corner. You can collect dust until you are ready to be experienced. And the sad thing is they released a game that clearly should have been delayed at least another 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, look at CD Projekt Red. You know that they have a history of looking after the people who enjoy their games. They are all about the gamers. They came out when Xbox said smart delivery, you get the next gen version free, whatever. You don't have to pay twice for your last gen versus your next gen version of the game. They pushed for that, and I feel like because of that, you know that they're going to do right by the gamers, but they should have done right by the gamers initially from the get-go and delayed the game when it first released. I love that game. Like, I'm going to play Cyberpunk when there is optimization for the console I want to play it on. Because you and I are both console gamers. I prefer to game on console. I like PC, but I tend to play PC for RTS games.
Yeah.
Just being honest, guys. That's what I like to use a PC for RTS games.
As I was going to say, my daughter bought it for me physically, which is this is my only physical game I own now. Cyberpunk. The only thing is, I can't get hold of an Xbox Series X. I've only got an Xbox Series Slim, and as you know, it's digital, the Xbox Slim, so I cannot play Cyberpunk until I get an Xbox Series X. So
you can't play Cyberpunk until you get it. Oh, did you buy? Oh, your daughter bought you a physical copy.
Yeah. And I've not got a drive to use it because I can't get an Xbox Series X. So
that's awkward.
I know. So yeah, she got it for me last Christmas. I've still not really played it.
Okay. All right.
I played on the last gen console, but I thought, no, I'm not going to play any more on that because it ruined the experience. I'll play on the next gen console, and I can't get hold of the next gen console.
It's gonna be my task to see if we can sort out getting you a Series X by Christmas. Okay. It's almost Christmas. We need a holiday miracle for Elite so he can.
Get me Ashtrays, Halo Infinite.
Pretty sure he'll murder you, and he'll tell you that next week when he comes and joins us on the podcast next week.
Right. So, but I'm still looking forward to playing the game, and I like the look of the game. And for people that are still involved in it, say it's a really good game. It does have several bugs and issues. What I've played of it, I enjoyed it, even though yes, it did have a few little glitches. But I think Witcher 3, if I recall, also had glitches. Now, I mean, the horse
When it launched,
Roach
yep,
was all over the
it was
place. He used
buggy.
to just ping pong all over the place. It was mental. Um, I don't think their games do release seamless. I think that's what people forget. So they was really praising Witcher 3, but it wasn't seamless. It had a lot of issues. Their games generally have issues. Um, but the thing I'm
Lining
cool.
Silver lining to you not having your next gen console is someone has nicely 9 foot UT. I guess I don't know what that stands for, but he said at least the Cyberpunk next gen patch hasn't come out, so you're not
Exactly.
missing out on
I
that.
was about to respond to that. Yeah,
Silver
exactly, mate.
lining.
Exactly. So
Cheers,
I've
mate.
got 6 more months to get a Xbox Series X before the patch happens, uh, or whatever it'll be.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, I think the saving grace of the problems with Cyberpunk is I hope these issues push on Starfield. I hope Phil and the team are looking at Starfield now and saying we need to really perfect this and iron this out. We don't want a Cyberpunk situation and watch the game just die. Because what I'm hearing about Starfield is the game's going to be absolutely massive. Have you heard all the planets you can go to? And each planet, the map is the size of Skyrim.
Skyrim. Yeah.
Skyrim world. Can you imagine how
That's
massive that
insane.
game's going to be? That game is going to be
Yep.
incredible, and I can't wait to play it. I just hope they do it justice. I think I wrote on Twitter the developers are throwing it out, and I just said, just please allow. I wanted the space experience to be like Elite Dangerous. If anyone's played Elite Dangerous, I want the space experience to be like that. Oh, the game is fantastic. Space sort of similar. I want the space experience to be like that, but then like Mass Effect, I want you to be able to get out your ship and wander around the planet and enjoy sort of
Yeah.
things and have a sort of
Yeah.
interact and fight and do stuff like an FPS at the same time. But also said they have to include the mechs in it because in the trailer it showed mechs walking around. You have to be able to pilot those. They should let you do that. That'd be fantastic if you can walk around the world in a mech.
Us going sideways onto a slightly different topic.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, Starfield. I can't wait to hear more about that.
Yeah.
You and I were talking before the show about how much I was enjoying cross-play on Back 4 Blood in the sense
Yeah.
of like I was playing with someone on PlayStation, I was playing with someone on PC, I was playing with someone on the OG Xbox, I was playing with someone, and then I was obviously playing on next-gen Xbox. I'm hoping that like Starfield, because it's within the Xbox ecosystem with the PC and with Xbox and with xCloud, regardless of where you're playing it, if there's some sort of co-op or some sort of cross-gen mechanic, like however you want to play it, that would be cool. We don't know, but it would be neat. I think it would be cool. But yeah, like they announced Cyberpunk update delayed to 2022. They announced The Witcher 3 update delayed to 2022. I still have to finish The Witcher 3. I'm one of those people who
I've
never
tried it
got around to
twice. I didn't
finishing
like
it.
it. No.
Well, I liked the first map, and then I got into the second map. Oh, the second area. And then I kind of was like, they were saying like it's quite easy if you go and do all the side missions, and I'm like, I'm doing all the side missions, and there's this section that is just pissing me off. So I kind of stopped, as you do, and find another game that you actually don't get annoyed at, and then you just go ham on it. But I think it will give me another excuse to go back and relook it and finish off The Witcher, because Witcher Season 2 is coming out in December. Like, I am going to watch the hell out of that season, because I've already watched the first season like 6 to 8 times.
With Omri Cadell.
Because I really, I really just really loved the show.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, anything. I don't think there's anything else to add on to that other than it's been delayed, and I'm just kind of sad that we're looking at a situation where they've had to fix the game so much that they couldn't actually optimize or finish the optimizations in time for this year, that they had to push it to next year. But I'm also happy that they are pushing it and realizing that they can't half-ass it and release it on next gen consoles with the optimizations for the next gen, because of oh my god, what's the word for it? I can't think of the word for it, and that's because of the wine in my head. I guess the way it was received when it first launched, and it clearly was half-baked when it first launched. Yes, the bones of the game is great, but you got to build off that, and you got to fix all the little nitty-gritty stuff that people don't like about games that shouldn't be releasing on day one, or even a year later. And it's not even a year later, and they're still fixing clear problems. But such a good game.
And what's
Not gonna
interesting,
deny
I'm
that.
looking forward to as well. It's in Exile, one of Xbox Studios. They're apparently working on a similar style game, but it's going to be steampunk, isn't it? They're working on steampunk
Is that
RPG.
compulsion?
Is it
Was
compulsion?
the
I thought it
announcement that
was in
compulsion?
Exile. Oh right. I
The
know
next,
one of
I can't
Xbox
remember
Studios.
actually.
That'd
To
be
be
interesting because
honest,
we've not really seen a steampunk
there.
style game yet.
To be honest, there are too many games that Xbox's first-party studios are working on that
Yeah, you
it's
seen the
quite
recent leak
easy to.
yesterday? Two other games they're working on, unannounced games.
Every other day there's a leak.
Yeah, but yeah, they've got loads of studios
But
now, so
as a
no
gamer,
doubt. Yeah,
all I can say is, as long as there are games for me to play, and there always is with Game Pass, I really don't give a
yeah,
shit. I'm happy I'm on the platform I'm on, and I'm gonna enjoy the games I get to play.
yeah. Next subject. Next topic.
Yeah,
Go on in, you can lead this one. New Xbox storage expansion cards. Go.
yeah. So as we all know, the unaffordable 1 terabyte expansion SSD, uh, which is I guess bespoke in the sense of it's you can't just buy an off the shelf run of the mill SSD card or M.2 drive to pop into your Series S or your Series X. You have to buy their specific one via Seagate. So it was what almost a year that there was only the 1 terabyte announced. They've now announced, and this was clearly leaked a few months ago or a few weeks ago or whenever it was announced, the 512 megabyte. So the 512 megabyte is priced at $139.99 US dollars. All right. The 2 terabyte card is priced at $399 US dollars. Now, just to let you understand, the first storage that launched, the 1 terabyte first storage that 1 terabyte one that launched was $219.99, right? So almost like $220. In New Zealand, where I'm from, the price of that card, the 1 terabyte, is like $400.
Yeah. That's a lot of money.
Not gonna get. I want a 2 terabyte. I want to put money down on a 2 terabyte, but I am super scared to put my money down on a 2 terabyte because it's not pre-orderable until December or whatever it is. It's probably going to end up like $800 New Zealand dollars. I'm like, that's the same price I paid for my Series X.
Yeah.
I am not paying that at all in New Zealand. Like, not paying it. Unless they do something smart about the different markets the SSDs are coming to. I know that Jason Ronald talked about third party. It was opening up to third party, but we don't know how long that deal is going to last where it's exclusively available with Seagate releasing the SSDs solely. When are the third parties going to come out and start releasing theirs and actually providing that competition and allowing a competitive price to start in the market? When is that going to happen? What are your thoughts on this? Because I can imagine you're probably looking at the price of the SSD going, is this even worth it? I mean, the 512, well, yeah, but I wouldn't buy that. Your 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, we're looking at a generation. Yes, they brought out the fact that they'll be able to reduce the size of games once new games start taking full advantage. We're already seeing PlayStation 5 games that are smaller than the Xbox Series games because they're using that compression technology and then the SSD and all of that decompressing it. And Xbox has the same technology, essentially slightly different with the oh my god, I can't think of the word they're using it, but the software they're using to do that. But they've got dedicated decompression on their console, so they will have the ability to reduce the game sizes of next gen games. Because if they don't, they're just going to get bigger and bigger. But I would still prefer to get a 1 terabyte minimum or a 2 terabyte. But at those prices, it's kind of a hard ask outside of the United States.
I'm still holding fire on an extra drive. I basically play my games and delete them and use the cloud. So I only any one time on my Xbox hard drive, I probably only have about 4 or 5 games. That's it. And if I get bored of a game, I just delete it. I'm like that. I'm ruthless. I'm not a kind of person. It's like I'm not a hoarder in real life either. I just if
I
my
hoard.
motto is if in doubt, chuck it out. that's my motto. And anything I don't want or I'm not sure of, I just bin it basically. Which annoys my wife massively. She go, "Where's this?" And I went, "Oh, I binned it." I don't even like storage. I don't even like storing stuff in the garage in my loft and that. I just throw stuff away. I like to keep everything clutter free and clear. I like open spaces. So yes, I'm not too fussed at this stage. I can hold on till next year for this drive, but I can see it being an issue money wise, etc. So be interested to see how it goes. Be interested to see how. So this is just the Xbox one, isn't it? It's not the PlayStation version.
Just the Xbox.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting what the PlayStation come with, because we're still waiting on an official PlayStation hard drive, aren't we? Because the one they released was a third party one, which people basically
Everything
beta
that
tested.
is out for PlayStation is third party at this point.
Yeah,
But I think because they have a lot of different storage providers in the market, then I don't think they have an issue around price. I mean, price is going to be an issue regardless of whether you're PlayStation gamer or Xbox gamer or even a PC gamer, because of the shortages that is happening in that sector around. Oh my god, the conductors and all of that. Like they can't make enough of these for anything.
no,
So you're gonna it's the shortages is gonna increase price, and at the end of the day, who's winning? We're not. Us gamers
yeah,
are kind of being stuck out in the cold and are having to fork out quite a bit of money regardless of where you choose to game. If you're gonna get an SSD, then you're kind of stuck out there.
yeah. I've done a
Um,
video on this.
yeah.
I'll probably release next week about basically about that. I think both sides are guilty. Xbox and PlayStation are guilty of not doing enough, stamping out. What do you call it? Ugh. Stamping out thingies. What do you call them when they're buying up everything? Scalpers. Both
Yeah.
companies are guilty of not doing enough to stamp out scalpers. Basically, they need to cut up their. The thing is, I can see from their point of view, they're selling they're selling their product, so they don't care because they're getting their money at the end of the day. But it isn't good for their customers, customer wise, because it's not the customers that are getting the game or getting the product or anything, and it's just not good. So yeah,
You're talking about scalpers, but if you're thinking about it, if your sole profit margin and how you make profit is coming from a finite hardware like the PlayStation,
yeah,
right? And you can't sell software anywhere else other
yeah,
than your console.
yeah,
Who is going to be buying the software? Gamers. And if they can't get hold of it because the exorbitant prices that scalpers charge,
yeah,
you're losing out. You're not making enough profit that you should be based on the console sales that you've got. I mean, they've said that the PS5 is now no longer selling at a loss.
It's because they've replaced it
That's
with a
the
cheap
disc
version.
edition. The
yeah,
digital edition is still selling at a loss. Clearly,
yeah,
they undercut that one. But with what's happening, and I agree, both actually, or everyone can be said this. This can be PC, this can be Nintendo, this can be
yeah,
Xbox, this can be PlayStation. Everyone is not doing enough to combat the assholes that are the scalpers who are basically impeding our ability to enjoy our hobby and our
yeah,
passions, which is gaming. And for gamers who deal with FOMO, fear of missing out, and choose to go spend those prices for scalpers
yeah.
on the consoles, you guys are kind of being ripped off essentially, even though you really want to play it and you don't want to miss out, so you're just gonna spend that price to do it. It's not really fair, to be honest.
We'll move on. We'll come back
And
to
that's
scalpers because it'll come up in one of our next topics. But let's move on to
yeah.
our topic: the new Dbrand black panel for the PS5. So this is an interesting topic because I like this, and I was listening to the RDX recently, and Tim Dog and D brought up very valued points. So what basically, I don't know if you know what the ins and outs of this is. Basically, a third-party company, started making the side paneling for the PS5, a black version, because the PS5's
They
not,
announced it, yep.
yeah, they've not got their own version. So they announced they're going to make and sell their own version of it. Sony went, no, you're not. That's ours, yada, yada, yada. You can't do that. And threatened with a lawsuit. So this company backed down and said, all right, then fair enough.
They said bring it,
Yeah.
and then the lawsuit,
Yeah.
and then they pulled it off the market. They were like, okay, we're backing off.
They thought it won't go against Sony. But now recently, they've just returned, haven't they? With their own they painted it as well, version of the side panel, which is black. Not only black, but it actually works better than the PlayStation 5. It's been tested, and they've got the fan on the side, and it actually reduces the heat of the PS5 better than the actual PlayStation 5 panel. It also looks a lot better and functions better in every single way. And they painted it now, and they've said, yeah, come at us. And they're basically challenging Sony.
Look at that. If it works better and looks better, what do you have to say to that then, Elite?
Well, it can't possibly look and work better because Sony's a genius and he invented this thing, and he's a genius. What went wrong? You've got a third party, a little third party whatever production company that's made a better working basically PS5 panel than the PS5 genius himself. It's unconceivable. It's not possible. So it's interesting, really. It looks good. I've seen pictures of it. It does look good. Some people say it looks like the sort of the Batman silhouette. It doesn't look as.
It looks. Honestly, I saw this. It looks really good. It looks really clean. It looks really nice. And I think I agree 100% with you. They did a better job of designing these PlayStation side panels than PlayStation did.
Yeah, that's kind of
absolute better job.
Yeah.
That's a sad fact. And I think the cool thing is because PlayStation went out and said, we're going to go at you for this, they came up with a better version than what they initially came up with. And they're proving PlayStation wrong. Just understanding the idea behind thermal dynamics. If we look at Xbox Series X and the way they design that, like the way the grill is at the top and the fan is pulling air in from the bottom and shooting it up the top because heat rises, right? Yeah. The way the PlayStation is designed and with the fins on the front and such, it pulls the air in. But why wouldn't you have it pulling it in from the side exactly where the intake from the fan is coming from? Yeah. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Whereas Xbox has designed the fan's intake from the bottom to shoot out, whereas it's from the side. So you're getting better cooling because the air is pulling into the fan the way it should be based on the thermodynamics of the design of the console. Yeah. So to get shown up by a third-party company on your own PlayStation panels because you aren't willing to, do more. Essentially, you and I have said that it feels like this was a beta console, that the PlayStation games were testing it, that the fact that they were testing the fan, essentially, and going, okay, we need to update it based on the games playing and so on and so forth. Why were these tests not done prior to the game launching? Prior to the console launching. It still feels like we're running into those kind of, like, those walls all the time. Like, one moment they get something right and the next moment we had another brick wall and another brick wall, because you keep running to little things that they didn't clearly think out or plan out properly and test enough, and you as a gamer are testing their console. Because imagine what the next version of that console is going to be. Do you think they're going to be smarter and do something that Dbrand did? I think they're probably going to change the design, or at least the plate panel, to be better at cooling the console. It just it looks like PlayStation has egg on their face. Yeah. That's what it looks like to me. What are your thoughts?
We were talking before the show, wasn't we, about the PlayStation 5, that we have no hatred towards the games. Personally, I don't like single-player narrative games anyway, so I have no real interest in their games as such, but I can recognise that some of them look good. However, both of us agreed, you would like to have played the games, but both of us agreed we'll get a PS5 this year at the beginning of the generation.
Yeah.
Then what held us back was their apparent exclusives of PS5 started releasing on PS4, so that reduced the reason to get a PS5. You might as well get a PS4 Pro.
Yeah.
Then they've got no real PS5 only backlog games. Just the next PS5 first party exclusive it's not until 2023, 2024 when Spider-Man releases and Wolverine. So, it means basically hold on. But the main point, I think the reason why we didn't get PS5s is because the console comes across as a beta console, as if they're testing their fan base for maybe a mid-gen refresh, which they'll sort of come out. I mean, they've already released recently a better version already at the PS5, apparently a cheaper version. But the console itself always seemed like a beta, and I think that's what put us off, didn't it? It had so many issues. We know the heat wasn't great on it. We know the fans, every console had a different fan in it, because clearly they were testing various fans in these machines.
Quite a fans went out to the press. That came out that then when they were testing it, press people were getting the fans which actually made the console quieter, and the people who were getting the retail versions had a louder fan. Like, what is that telling you that that's not misleading? Because you and I we were literally talking about this before the show, saying that I have no issue with PlayStation games, and you and I both agreed that we weren't going to get a PlayStation 5 yet because we weren't sold by the actual hardware. Like, PlayStation makes great games, no denying that. Like, the studios that they have looking at, developing games for them and developing software for them, they're top notch. They know what they're doing. They know the market that they're hitting to. However, we weren't sold on the hardware, and even you were like, why would I buy a PlayStation to play old games? Same thing can be said if you're coming from PlayStation and wanting to buy an Xbox. Why would I play an Xbox to play old games? However, Xbox has been working on their backwards compatibility, their profile and everything like that since 2015, when they first announced it. And they've been working very hard towards that and improving it, like games that can do 9 times the resolution, games that have FPS boost that can do 60 FPS that weren't even made to do 60 FPS initially. Games that have better texture filtering and so on and so forth. Auto HDR. But a part of why you would, if you've come from another platform that isn't PlayStation, why would you go to PlayStation to play old games? My thoughts there is PlayStation's backwards compatibility also felt like a bit of a beta. Like, they didn't come out to the beginning of the generation to say, hey, yep, you can play every game, but they also were saying, like, not every game is going to work properly. So it didn't feel like you could have 100% confidence being a consumer who'd never had a PlayStation before, coming from another platform or PC or wherever you're coming from, and going and delving into that, to enjoy backwards compatibility on the PlayStation 5. And it's not just backwards compatibility, it's about everything to do with their hardware. Everything that's been coming up, like VRR wasn't available, like they were even selling TVs that were like meant to be next gen ready, and they weren't next gen ready. So it felt like it's been very misleading for us as consumers who are looking out from outside, wanting to become to at least be objective. Like, you and I were like, I would like to play on that to be objective and to give my opinion about PlayStation games, because I've never owned a PlayStation myself before. But I don't know, it's hard seeing that a third party can do a better job of the PlayStation 5 side panel designs around thermal dynamics than the company who was testing and spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on engineering of a next-gen system. The fact that they were like, we need to keep the system cool, so we're going to use liquid metal in it. Why don't you go with the basics?
Yeah.
Because Dbrand has just shown you how basic it is to improve your thermal dynamics.
And at the end of the day, sort of, Cerny was called a genius for his little speech he done way back in 2019 now, wasn't it? We've not seen him since. He just vanished. He done his little PowerPoint presentation, said he was going to explain things further on and go into more detail of anything. He never did. He just vanished. And everyone called him a genius. And then 2021, I'm not sure what part of genius is the PS5. I don't see any genius going into that at all. There is nothing. It's awkward, horrible looking. That's the other thing at Dbrand black panel. I think it was D was saying he bought one. You can actually lie it down as well. Unlike the PS5, you can't lie down on its side because it's like a weird shape. That it's like a seesaw. you can actually lie down the new panel on its side. So they've just created a better product than Sony themselves, and it's embarrassing, really.
Mm.
Should we move
I
on to the
don't
next
know.
topic?
Any thoughts in our chat for those who are listening and watching and so on and so forth, about what you think of the Dbrand black panels that are for the for the PlayStation 5? Personally, they look amazing, and if I had a PlayStation 5, I would definitely be getting rid of those basic white ones and
Yeah, they look
upgrading, in
horrible.
my opinion, because
Yeah,
I feel like it is an upgrade.
yeah.
It is. Oh my god,
That
I just dropped
and
something. It is totally an upgrade.
yeah, it's an upgrade, and the panels do look awful. That white paneling looks awful. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If the console released with that black paneling, I reckon it would have been much more favourable. But
I would have liked the design
yeah,
more. I
yeah,
definitely would have. It would have been more palatable to me. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it would have blended in with everything else you're gaming. Because I mean, looking at my gaming desk right now, everything's black. My keyboard, my mic, my TV, my laptop I'm using, everything's black. That big, massive white, 3 foot high thing that looks like an elf. It just looks weird.
3 foot high. Okay. But Ninefoot mentioned like he wishes Deathloop on the PS5 had crossplay with PC. I agree with you. Like PlayStation, because it's like solely gated at PlayStation gamers, you're not getting that range of or that pool of gamers that you normally would. Like I've been talking about Back for Blood, and like because it's cross-gen, you're getting access to PC gamers, you're getting access to PlayStation gamers, you're getting access to Xbox gamers. Like there is longevity in the fact that you will have a large base of gamers who will be playing this game for a long period of time, whereas I feel like Deathloop is being solely gated in PlayStation at the moment for the year means it is going to be hard to keep people trying to get in those matches and so on and so forth. So when it comes to Xbox in a year's time, fingers crossed, it'll be cross-play with PC on Game Pass day one, guys.
Yeah, most likely will
Day
be.
one.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to. That's I remember when they first done the show, their conference back in 2020, and they showed that game. That was the only game I think from the conference I looked off Deathloop. That's before we even knew that it was owned by Xbox, before we even bought Bethesda.
Yeah.
I looked at that game and thought that's my kind of game, because I love PvP games. I thought that'd be fantastic. To get
Yeah,
into,
you do.
So yeah, and now it's come to Xbox, so I was like, yay, yippee! Right, next subject. Should we go on to the Xbox mini fridge?
Oh
Well,
my
I've got a
gosh.
video cover. Do you want to go first? I've got a video covering this.
I'll let you go.
Go on
I'll
then.
let you
Wow.
go. Because you know I talk so much
You do
anyway.
too much, yeah, especially when you're on the wine.
I'm always whining. I'm a
Pat-
female. What do you expect?
Yes, a lot. Yeah, there's two types of wine now. I think you're having. Yes, so
That
the
means I can
Xbox-
double wine.
double wine. Yeah, double wine combo. Yes, so the Xbox mini fridge. Xbox decided to make a mini fridge by popular demand. Actually, I think they put out a poll, didn't they? And everyone voted for a yes. We all want this mini fridge. So they put up the pre-orders on a site called Target,
What's Target?
and a certain fan base, and I can only believe it's them because I can't see why anyone else would randomly hate on it. Started review bombing the fridge. They review bombed the fridge. Imagine doing that. Imagine hating a company so much and then following them around and being so insecure in your life that you make an account to review bomb a fridge. And if you look at some of the reviews, which I cover in my video, they say PS5's better. They compare it to the PS5 console.
You're comparing a PS5 that plays games
To the fridge.
to a fridge
Yes.
that doesn't play games.
They're doing a comparison. They said some of the comments are that my PS5.
What does that tell you
PS5's
about
better.
what they actually think of their PS5 console?
Yeah, yeah. One of
Are
them's-
they really wanting to? Are they saying that the PS5 is cooler than in the sense of it can stay cooler, like temperature
Someone
wise?
actually says
than
that.
the
One of them
Series
says
X
my
fridge?
PS5 runs cooler than the Xbox
Oh, yeah.
mini fridge. Someone says. Someone said it doesn't work. Do not buy this product. It's broken, even though it hadn't released. This was no one's even owned this yet. And yeah, there was all stuff like this. And a lot of it was my PS5 runs better. The PS5 mini fridge is better, even though they've not got one. And there's just a lot of nonsense like that. And it's absolutely ridiculous. They're review bombing a fridge, and it's taking their toxic nature to another level. And this is the problem with gaming, and I blame Sony for this personally, because they don't do enough to curb it. In fact, I feel like sometimes they're encouraging it. And this toxic behaviour is not only review bombing games, review bombing fridges, but they're also attacking developers and giving death threats to their own developers as well, not just third party, second party Xbox developers, but they're also hating on their own developers. They've done death threats to Santa Monica, they've done death threats to Naughty Dog, they've done recent one was Blue Point, wasn't there? They were saying they got death threats and
Blue
stuff.
Point, yep.
And I think Sony
I wouldn't necessarily. I think Sony needs to call it out.
Yes.
I think that's 100%. They need to call it out and go, "This is not acceptable behaviour."
No, but they don't. Which I think is disgusting.
They don't. And I think that's where my opinion of Sony to blame goes. Like, that's it. Other than that, there are some really delusional people out there who love their plastic box so much that any little thing that they don't agree with threatens their little egos.
Yeah.
Pegasus Nation is a great example of delusional people taking it a little bit too far. Yes, there are podcasts and so on and so forth, but to talk about the stuff that they talk about and the way they talk about it is ludicrous. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it other than my mind exploded and then basically turned to, I don't know, mush, because I was like, I feel like my IQ has just dropped like 20 points reading that crap. But I mean, the Xbox mini fridge, I guess it's hard to actually pinpoint that it's one particular part of the fan base and specifically point the finger at PlayStation fan bases for this.
The reviews, it is
because of the fact that there are... Oh, yes, yeah. It's hard to just solely say it's them. Like, yes, there definitely is some, oh my gosh, salty PlayStation people who just want to trash Xbox because they can. But it's also, you're looking at people who are also upset that they missed out on being able to pre-order it, because it's so hard to get a Series X in certain areas, that for them to also miss out on just the fridge is also kind of, I guess they're already pissed off and now they're extra pissed off, so they're stating that they couldn't pre-order it, so they're giving it like a 1 star. Like, grow the hell up, guys.
Which is where we go back to the scalpers. The scalpers, but people have said
like 4 times the price. It's like $99 US.
Yeah, 37
and they're selling it for like $400.
Yeah, some are selling it for 1,000.
Buy yourself an SSD if you've got a next-gen console, then a scalped mini fridge. Use that money where it's productive, where you can play video games. I guess the hard thing for this is, like, these reviews are coming out. This hasn't launched at all. It's not out. You're just pre-ordering it. Jason Ronald was talking... not Jason... Oh, my God. Why is my brain thinking Jason Ronald? Oh, my God. Who's the guy for marketing? Aaron Greenberg. Aaron Greenberg was talking about... Yeah, that's why... Exactly. Yeah. That poster of his long beard. Yeah. That... gross. Okay. I don't know. You do you, not me. Okay. But, like... Well, the fact that this hasn't launched and you guys are trashing it, and like Aaron Greenberg went out and talked about how he's had it at his house for a little while and he's been like using it and testing it and like so on and so forth. If there was a problem with the actual fridge, do you think they would be opening it up to pre-orders and releasing it and half-assing it? If you've had a look at anything that Xbox has been doing over the last few years, like the One X, they're not going to half-ass this. I mean, this is the first time they've done anything commercial in this regard outside of, like, gaming consoles and so on and so forth. I mean, and, like, Surface laptops. But I don't think they would have released this if it wasn't ready to be released. And it is kind of sad that it's only available in like one market for pre-order at the moment, but they are releasing it to more markets. And there will be more, like, we don't know how limited this is. I will be really sad if I don't get one, because I really want one, like, really want one. To the point where I might, like, stab someone to get one. I won't. Violence, no. But like in my mind, I will be.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Um,
Actually, Far Q Mates, which I, another thing I brought up in my video, not to keep plugging my video I'm release next week. Um, but also, I mean, this is not just the fridge, is it? The PS Gamer
review
84,
bombing
yeah,
everything.
he's review bombing anything Xbox related. And also, which I cover in my video, is that when Deathloop released on PS5, PS Games were review bombing that, even though it's on PS5, they're review bombing it because it was made by an Xbox studio. And in their reviews, they were saying, "Do not buy Xbox trash. This is an Xbox studio game. It's trash." And there was all comments like that relating to Xbox because even though it wasn't on Xbox, it was on PS5, and it's exclusive to PS5.
I
At the
mean,
moment. They were review bombing their own game.
my
That's how ridiculous they're being.
anything to change the narrative and deflect and damage control Xbox gamers being positive about something that is Xbox related.
Yeah.
Anything that they can do that feels like what's going on at the moment.
Yeah.
Last gen it was you didn't want to say that you were an Xbox gamer without a million people piling onto you going, "Why the hell are you doing it? That game, that console's like trash," and so on and so forth. So now Xbox gamers have pride in the platform and pride in the ecosystem. You can't deflate, I guess, the positivity. You can't deflate people's I guess pride and passion for the Xbox brand. Like you can't get rid of that. It's here to stay, and I think they're having trouble combating that this generation, whereas last generation we kind of took it and like hid everywhere and pretended that Xbox didn't exist because it was just easier than dealing with the trolls that were the PlayStation toxic fan base. Whereas this generation, they're coming up against fierce competition where Xbox gamers are kind of pulling them up on their shit
Yeah.
every time. But I guess kudos to Xbox because when this first got shown in 2019, the amount of memes that came out, and you and I have talked about this previously about the mini fridge, the amount of memes that came out in 2019 about it was like a trash can, it was a fridge, and then there was like what show was it where Aaron Greenberg had that as his wallpaper with the fridge? And then they sent out to iJustine and to Snoop Dogg the actual gigantic versions of the Xbox Series X fridge. And then you were right, they put out that poll going, who would want this? Every Xbox gamer, anyone who is a gamer in their right mind, would jump on the chance for their platform to come out with something like this so they could purchase it. If PlayStation was doing something like that, every PlayStation gamer would be going out and pre-ordering that shit. Do you think Xbox gamers will be going out and review bombing it? No, because they're generally adults. Obviously there'll be the odd toxic people who don't know that they're children, but for the most part, Xbox gamers, in my opinion, generally quite open-minded and will let gamers game where they want because it doesn't matter when you play them, as long as you're playing an Xbox game, you're an Xbox gamer. And as long as you're playing games in general, who the hell cares where you choose to play them?
Yeah. I was just going to cover
Just a
what, is
fact.
it Taya Talks says? Taya Talks?
Hey, talks.
Yeah, I agree that PlayStation has had the better first year lineup from November 2020 to November 2021, I think that's right. They've had the best first year with regards to sort of bigger games.
First half.
Yeah.
First half.
But not saying that those games are great. I particularly like them, and as I said, a lot of them are not made by Sony. A lot of them are things like second party or third party that they bought exclusivity for, which I don't really agree with. I think. But going forward, Xbox have created they've already lined themselves up to just win every year following. So from November, if we go from November 2021 to November 2022, that's going to be Xbox. Because in that time period, we're going to have Forza Horizon 5, Halo, Starfield, Redfall, most likely Forza Horizon, Motorsport. So those three games are next gen only. We've got Stalker 2, we've got things like Exomech, Crossfire X. There's just
there's
so
not.
many. And then Deathloop's going to be
Outer
in there
Worlds
as well. Yeah. That's just that year, and then the following year, we've got a load more games. It's just I think Xbox going forward of going first party as well are going to profit so much better, and they've really set themselves up, and that's why I think Sony have missed missed the mark. They've not really focused on developing games. They're more focused on just quickly buying up purchases, buying up exclusivity, which I don't really agree with. I don't really like too much. I
Good
think they're better off
Phil
saving their
in
money.
that regard.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think
Well, you
for
make more money from
PlayStation,
first party.
yeah, that's true. But for PlayStation, they had the year planned out. Like that when they were talking about last year, and a lot of us agreed that it felt like we felt those games were going to be delayed anyway. Like Forbidden
said it.
West
Yeah.
and God of War 2 Ragnarok was going to be delayed. It wasn't coming out in 2021, but the intention and the roadmap that they were kind of letting their PlayStation gamers know that was possibly coming in 2021. What they had for the first year of release for PlayStation 5 was very strong in regards to what PlayStation gamers wanted from PlayStation. They knew what they wanted. PlayStation has been very consistent over the last few years. I say more than a few years, but because of the pandemic, I feel like they have had to try and fill those a few gaps in that regard, and they haven't been able to fill that with the end of this year. And that's where you're running into that dry spell where PlayStation has no games, and Xbox ran into that last generation. And did we hear the end of it? No. So suck it up, PlayStation gamers. You have a bit of a dry spell coming. You know there are games coming on the other side of that dry spell, just like there were games coming on the other side of Xbox dry spell. But a lot of them weren't expecting that, so I felt like they were blindsided. So I feel like they're also lashing out a bit because they don't really have anything to kind of fall back on because the pandemic has kind of hit.
Yeah.
Not just PlayStation hard, but Xbox hard, PC hard, Nintendo hard. Every facet of the gaming community and so on and so forth has been affected by this pandemic, and is still being affected in some way or another, because we don't necessarily know what's happening down on the ground where all these developers are working around the world. We might have an idea and an opinion about it, but whether we actually know what's actually going on, I'm not an insider, you're not an insider, and insiders aren't really overly talking about it. So PlayStation did have an intention to be really strong for the whole year, but they've only managed 8 months with a strong release, and a lot of those games, like you've said, were cross-gen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this takes us nicely on to our last topic: God of War going to PC. Oh dear. Gordon, I'll let you fire off first with this one.
God of War, yep, coming out next year potentially, unless it comes out 2023 if they really want to push for more. Horizon Forbidden West, yep, definitely coming out next year. Forspoken, probably maybe end of the year, probably beginning of 2023, I reckon. Final Fantasy, I'm not really going to talk about Final Fantasy, it doesn't interest me, but there are gamers out there who do enjoy it. I mean, I guess as an Xbox gamer, people are a bit upset that Final Fantasy isn't out on Xbox.
I've got a feeling, because apparently the reason why the Final Fantasy is made by Square Enix, aren't they?
Yeah.
And previous, are they? Square Enix? Are they Square Enix?
Yeah.
Previously, those games obviously were Sony had
Not
a deal with
well
Square Enix.
public.
Sorry.
We'll have an exclusivity deal.
Yeah, they used to have a deal with them.
Appreciate your take on it. Love your take on it there, Tay. I'm probably saying your name wrong, but love your take on it.
Yeah, they used to have an exclusivity deal contract for Final Fantasy with Sony, but apparently last year that contract ended, and now there's, I don't know if you've seen the rumours of Final Fantasy is now all going to Game Pass. I don't know if you've seen that. Because just recently Sony, Xbox seemed to be getting very close with Square Enix. Because if you look at some of the games going to Game Pass, they're Square Enix games, and apparently there's a rumour that Final Fantasies will be going. All the Final Fantasies will be going, just like the Accusers will be also going to Game Pass. Look how close
they are with Perfect Dark.
Yeah, and I think if that happens, I think the Final Fantasy that's set to come out next year might then suddenly become multiplayer. It won't necessarily be exclusive to PlayStation 5. I reckon it might come
I will be interested to see though Forza Motorsports 8. Obviously, that isn't what they're calling it there, Tay, but it'll be interesting to Forza Motorsports because I reckon that's going to be next gen only.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of sad that GT7 became cross-gen because I feel like if it was just next-gen only, we would have had really good comparisons between Forza and Gran Turismo, and we're not going to get that because there's always going to be the argument now that GT 7 is cross-gen. So that's kind of sad for the people who want to kind of battle it out over the Twitterverse and take interesting screenshots.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to watch. I like watching people squabble like it's schoolyard. But yeah, the Xbox mini fridge, getting back on topic. I'm so keen for this, and like I said, super kudos to Xbox for taking a meme and taking a negative and turning it into this massive positive that it is. And you can't take away from that. Even people review bombing it can't take away from it. So at the end of the day, the people who are losing are the ones who are jealous that their console, that their lovely plastic box that they sleep with at night because that's how much they care about it, don't get something like that.
Yeah. This come out last topic. God of War going to PC.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you know on this last week, I agree. Kudos to Jim. I actually agree with him on something. Because he's looking at not gating games. He wants to expand. He basically mimicked the same speech Phil did about reaching out to more than just 10, 20, 30 million gamers. But he wants to reach hundreds of millions. And you can only do that by putting your games on more platforms, basically. And he doesn't want to gate his software anymore. He wants to free it up. And thus, I think, going forward, we're going to see more and more games going to PC, which we called years ago. We said that would happen years ago. So, my perspective, good. It's great. Why wouldn't you want your game to go to PC? Why would you want to gatekeep a game and not let anyone play this game? If it's so fantastic, Game of the Year winner, it's the best game that everyone should play, why should they have to buy a PlayStation 5 to play it? Why can't they play it on PC? It's not going to affect your life. It won't affect your, anything that you've done.
It's not going to affect console sales.
Yeah, your console won't vanish, ping out of existence. The game you own won't be lessened or weakened by it. It won't ping out of existence either. It will not harm you whatsoever. It will bring and generate extra revenue for Sony, who will then hopefully start making more games. So what do you think? That's my point.
Kind of talked about generally what Jim Ryan said over the last 2 podcasts.
Yeah.
And then for this to come out, and it was announced that this was, it has been rumored that this was coming for a while. Didn't God of War kind of release for a limited period of time on PC or on some type of, was it PlayStation Now where you could play it on I don't know. There was something that PC gamers could play it at one point.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm just thinking of another game, PlayStation exclusive. But it's interesting to kind of sit back and watch the craziness unfold on Twitter and on YouTube. With all the different, I guess, takes on what this means. And you and I have been very clear.
Yeah.
You and I have been very clear because Xbox came out, Phil came out and said, this is the intention. The whole Play Anywhere was a big thing. Smart delivery. Yeah. Game Pass for PC. Getting Game Pass Ultimate, you've got it on console, you can play it on PC, you'll get it on cloud gaming. We have known this is where, I guess, the industry is moving. And PlayStation fans, not PlayStation fans have been very, I guess, reluctant to admit that that's where the industry was going. And if not, very, I guess, angry that this was a talking point over the last 18 months, that this was possibly going to happen. And people have been talking about it longer, RDX has been talking about it for a very long time. But the conversation point that, I guess, to listen to people who solely gamed on PlayStation their whole lives and are kind of casual gamers and don't really understand how technology works, or how gaming or PC or other platforms work, because people talking about PlayStation games are going to be held back by the fact that PC minimum specs means that PlayStation games are going to have to be made to hit the minimum specs on for PC gamers. Like, guess who sets the minimum spec on a game for PC? The developer. So if you happen to have a PC rig that can't play a game, upgrade it so you can play it. Like, that's the key thing. You can choose to upgrade your components in your PC to be able to take advantage and be able to utilize next gen games. Like, I guess the biggest thing holding back next gen for PC, if PlayStation did want to push their games to PC at this point in that market, is mechanical hard drives. Like, PlayStation 5 with the super fast SSD, the minimum spec, if you're going to port your games to PC, is going to be saying that you need a SSD. That's going to be changing the minimum spec on PC. Like, the developer sets the minimum spec, and then you find out if your hardware can run it. And if it can't, you choose to go pay to make your hardware run it. Or if it's actually cheaper to buy a PlayStation, buy a PlayStation. Do you know what? The choice is yours. And that's the key thing about gaming when it's not gated, is you have a choice to play the games where you want. Yeah. On the preferred platform that you want to play them on. So if you prefer console gaming, play it on console. If you prefer PC gaming, play it on PC. People who are saying that the console sales are gonna, I guess, not benefit from a game being released day and date on PC. Why do you care about console sales? PlayStation came out and said, like, yes, the disc edition of the PS5 is now no longer at a loss, but the digital edition is still being sold at a loss. If there is someone who can play it on PC and they buy the software, the sales for the software is where a company makes their money. Yeah. That's where they're making their money. Not at the console sales. Who cares about console sales? Yes, there's 100 and something million PlayStation gamers, but there's also like 140 million PC gamers, and gating yourself off and kind of holding your arm behind your back and not allowing you to have access to another market where you can make more money, make more games, is ridiculous. And there are some gamers out there now realizing, like PlayStation gamers now realizing, that this is where the industry is going, so they're going to have to get on board with it, and their narrative is changing, and they're starting to open up their minds and go, actually, this could be a positive as a PlayStation gamer. Those are the people that need to be talking out. The people who are still like, I'm going to go to Nintendo, I'm like, ridiculous people, I'm not going to buy any more of this, I'm done with PlayStation. Grow the hell up. Yeah.
It is weird that people...
PlayStation doesn't care about your little fan baby wars.
Consoles. Yeah, it is weird that people, they want to sell consoles. Their fan base are just so engrossed in console sales. That is weird. They don't care about Sony's future or them making any profits. They just care about them selling consoles, which doesn't make them much money. It's all very odd.
Sure. Say that.
Yeah, though I also say, I don't know why they don't, Sony, just to make more money, don't just release these games, all their games, on PS Now day one. I don't know why they don't do that. Just to bring in subscriptions, bring in more subs for, just like
anything.
Yeah.
If anything, not releasing day and date is actually hurting your sales on PC.
Yeah.
So think about it, because when a new game comes out, people get hyped for it, and by the time a game is 3 years old, it's just going to sit in their backlog because there's going to be a game that they're itching to play. Yeah. Like, think about it like that. Like, PlayStation gamers are happy to let you go and play an old game, but it's not benefiting the developers playing an old game. Yes, they get new sales, but like, and they might get hyped to buy the next iteration in the franchise. However, if you're buying it day and date, the hype level day and date, or that first 6 months after a game releases, is at peak. And that is where people are going to get FOMO. Everyone's talking about it, and they're like, I'm not missing out. Up to a year, because there are some people who, like on Xbox, will wait a year for the exclusivity deals, like on Deathloop, to come out because they get it free through their subscription to Game Pass, so they don't mind waiting. They're still hyped for them. They've got other games to play in the meantime. But I still feel like it's I guess, negatively impacting if a PC gamer has to wait 3 years to play a PlayStation exclusive when there are going to be other games that take their fancy and they might be hooked on, and they probably won't play it.
Yeah.
There's going to be, there's going to be a subset of the market who will go and play it, but the majority, no. It's long gone. It's an old game. I want to play new, next gen. Give me new experiences.
Yeah. Well, by 3 years, you could have bought a second-hand PlayStation by then and bought the game at a budget, like £5 from a budget store by then.
Second hand, who's getting who's making money on that?
Yeah, no, yeah. That's, I mean, it's
Not
only not making
PlayStation.
any money on a second-hand PlayStation console and game. So that's what I mean by that stage. So
I mean, I don't think they're ready to release day and date. I mean, I like what EA Play is doing, where they wait 6 months and then release it onto their streaming service or their whatever service that it is, because I feel like you're still within that time frame of a new game releasing, that there's a lot of that hype behind it. So I think PlayStation could definitely do something within the first year of release, because then they'll get like a second wind. It's kind of hard when you're looking at it like 3 to 4 years down the line. That second wind, that kind of hype behind it is less so, unless you're gonna be releasing a new game in that franchise and trying to get people on board. But the longer the franchise is in length, like the more titles that are, the harder it is to get people to buy into it, because people think, I haven't played the first ones. Even if a developer says, you don't need to play the first ones, your brain is still going to tell you, I'm missing out on this lore, and there's none of this previously on so-and-so, like when you watch a TV show. You don't get the recaps that you do when you play games. Like, they don't give you recaps. Which is odd that there are no recaps for games, which would kind of be nice if they did do that. I think, like, Dragon Age did that. And like Mass Effect did that, like little recaps, but like for the most part, games don't really do that.
yeah. They could throw a recap in as sort of as like a loading screen, couldn't they? As the game's loading up when you first boot up a game, they always have the loading screens and stuff. They could do a recap within that. I don't know why they don't.
Yeah, they could.
But anyway, I think we're ending this episode here. We're just over the hour
mark.
I think we're done.
I mean,
we want to get on Back 4 Blood.
You and I have kind of talked. Yeah, we're going to play some Back 4 Blood after this. You and I have kind of talked quite deeply and a lot about PlayStation games coming to PC. So it was natural that I think God of War being one of those pillar games at PlayStation, and when you think of PlayStation now, you think of God of War, that it was important that this was a first step in kind of, I guess, assimilating the two different markets. And it's that first step into going, this is where we're intending to go. Obviously, they're still testing the waters, which is nice. They don't want to go full into it, but I feel like Xbox was testing the waters longer with the like Play Anywhere and so on and so forth. So PlayStation is still catching up. But what annoys me, like, I have no issue with this. I think the people who are bagging on it and the people who should really wake up to the fact is the people who are stuck in the past as to what gaming used to be, not where gaming is going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, I think that the biggest positive PlayStation gamers can take from this is that with God of War going to PC, that means Crap Gamer's going to sell his PlayStation 5 and buy a Switch.
No, he should just stop gaming altogether. Crap Gamer should stop gaming altogether.
I remember when he said he quit Xbox because Quantum Break went to PC. Do you remember that? And he went, this is not good enough, we need exclusives. But then since Sony's been dropping their games on PC, he's damage controlled it. He's just anyway.
I like God of War, like Ragnarok being, I guess, the sequel to the spiritual successor or reboot of God of War in general. You don't really have to come in too hard into, I guess, the franchise to kind of pick up where everything left off. Yeah. So I think that way, you're going to get people buying in and getting hype for that, and potentially buying a PlayStation 5. So it's a really good way to kind of introduce people to that, and then encourage them to buy it because it's coming out next year, maybe the year after. But games where it's a lot more long-winded in the franchise, I think that's where it's harder to get by. And like people who are coming into like Halo, like we're on like Halo 6 now. Not everyone's going to go back and play the original Halos games to kind of jump in if they feel like they've missed out. But the good thing about that game is like you don't have to play Halo to play Halo when you've got multiplayer. So yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, that's kind of us for the day or night. We're gonna go play some Back for Blood. Appreciate everyone joining in and listening to me talk a lot while Elite kind of just listens because that's his job. That's what I pay him for. No,
what I do in life. Listen to people. Taya Talks and 9 Foot UT, thank you for keeping with us and keeping the comments going.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate the things. Please, both of you, put us a like and please sub both our channels. We really appreciate the subs going.
Follow me,
share this out,
guys.
and follow us. Follow Red.
I'm never gonna get on YouTube at this point. My life is just hectic. I can do this, but yeah. Right. Appreciate it. We're going to have Astro Gaming next week, and we're going to do it on my Saturday morning, your Friday night. Is that right?
So American time, that's about 6 p.m. I think 6 p.m.
I don't
EST,
know.
I think.
Time zones are weird.
Yeah, they are weird. We should all be on the same time zone.
It should be easier.
Yeah, but that work. Thank you, Dave. Thank you very much, and keep with us. Yeah, we'll keep you posted when we've got new podcasts going up. And check out our videos, check out our channels. Please subscribe and share. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye for now. Bye.